All right, time now live for all things Gators. Glad you're with us. Dan Hicken and Frank Frangie. What's up, Hick? These are not happy times.
No, they're not. Brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com for all your orthopedic needs. We listen, it is what it is at this point. And there's two main culprits. And one guy, I don't think he's getting a pass. It's being talked about. But, man, we got a real problem with DJ Lagway. We got a real problem in a lot of ways. We'll get to him in a second. Let's focus in on Billy Napier. Everybody loves Billy Napier. He's a good man. He's a good person. He's been a good steward of the program. I've calmed down now from Saturday night, but it just does. It's not working. It's not working. And I think this is a guy, Frank, I think the bottom line with Billy Napier is this a guy who puts in 80, 100-hour work weeks, but his worst 3 hours of the week, every week, happen when he steps onto that football field from whatever to whatever time it is. And I think ultimately it's just he's not good enough.
Yeah, and I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And again, we'll see where it goes now.
Right.
They've only played 2 games, but I sent this out on X or Twitter, or whatever we call it.
Mm-hmm.
I sent this post, and I'll stand by this. And I'm going to expound on it a little bit. But Ryan Day, who was his own play caller, he was Chip Kelly's play caller, okay, realized you no longer can do it all when you're managing, you're a GM, you're managing NIL, whatever. He needed a play caller to turn it over to, and he went and got Chip Kelly and won a national title, even though he had been a play caller. Mike Norvell, right up the road at FSU, after last year's disastrous season, he had always called his own plays. He went out, I think about it, he had Dillingham at first, but the year before he called his own plays, he went out and got Gus Malzahn. It looks like he saved his job. It's been clear that Billy Napier is not a good play caller, that he's not good at building the offense, the offensive plan, the scheme, the punching out, all the shifting is not good. We've known it's not good. I think Billy Napier is a really good man from everybody that talks about him. I'm going to be harsh here, okay, Dan? I think he's clearly a good person. He's got a good heart. He's got a good soul. I think he's a good Christian man. I think he cares about players. And I really do think he's a wonderful guy to have as your neighbor. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But I wonder now if he's a little bit selfish. And I wonder if there's a little bit of arrogance there. Because it's been clear that he could serve the program better by turning over that offense to somebody else while he manages the whole thing. And he's been unwilling to do it. And I wonder if that's selfishness. And again, I don't want to impugn the character of him, because by all accounts, he is a good person. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that he's not. But Dan, at some point, it feels selfish and arrogant to me when it's clear that's not working. It's clear. And you can say all you want about how, well, I think it's in the best interest of the program. It's not. It's not. And DJ Lagway is not being developed. The offensive players are not being. It was very clear they're overmatched offensively. I'm sorry. USF, they should not lose to USF. They've got better players.
No.
They caught some bad breaks. The offensive pass interference, one of the worst calls I've ever seen, okay? Vernell Brown drops the ball. He's the most sure-handed guy on any team is the punt returner. So he's the most sure-handed guy, and he dropped a pass. And why are we spitting on people now? What are we doing? But back to the bigger.
The one thing they tell me, Frank, is the culture, and then you got a guy spitting. That's a bad look too. That's not good. And I don't think there's a Gator fan around who would care if you sent that kid packing. And it's a different world now, man. It's an NIL-based world, and here you are now with a quarterback who's not right. I don't know why he's not right, because nobody says anything. Right. I don't know if it's the shoulder. I don't know what, but he is not playing well at all. Easy throws that he's missing. Yeah. It doesn't help with Napier calling the plays. But DJ Lagway, I think it was so bad. Honestly, I don't know if you bench him, but Tramel Jones, I think if he plays on Saturday, we might have won the football game. I mean, I just, for the life of me, can't understand. And listen, when you're in year 4 of your program at the University of Florida, and you can call it arrogant if you whatever, you don't lose to USF at home in front of 89,000 of your faithful that have sold out your stadium for the 14th straight time to watch you against a school that you should obviously be able to handle. And those who tell me, oh, but the USF's quarterback's good, I got news for you, gang. He might be good. He's okay. And I didn't understand the defensive scheme either, Frank. I got to be honest with you. This guy can't throw it 15 yards down the field. He's a running back playing quarterback. And our corners would not press those guys. And our safeties were 20 yards back. It didn't make sense to me. I know they want to keep everything in front of them. But my gosh, there's certain plays. They get stopped on a first down run and be 2nd and 11. And the guy take a little 7-8 yard throw every time to make a 3rd manageable. It drove me nuts.
Yeah,
Over. It's just over. I'm sorry.
I'm with you. And I'm going to unpack a lot of what you said. First of all, the USF quarterback. Well, guess what, bro? We're about to play Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, he ain't Napier back for any of them.
We're about to play you're about to play 3 straight NFL quarterbacks. Okay? Right? So sorry, USF guy, but we're about to play 3 NFL. Back to Lagway. Listen, let's be honest, okay? If not for the hype and the 5-star and the NIL and the millions and all this, and I'm sure he's a wonderful kid, by the way. I've met him.
He looks terrible, though. Okay. Terrible.
But if not for the hype, you wouldn't think he was good. You'd think this is Treon Harris, who's bigger. You know, I mean, the reality is if you didn't have the hype, and at some point, I don't know that that's Napier. I mean, Graham Mertz was under Napier. He completed 70% of his passes and threw 24 touchdowns and 5 picks. I wonder if DJ's just a guy. He doesn't look the part. He's got an awkward playing style, and then you combine that with missing the throws. So I agree with you. Listen, you never call out a college kid. They're all trying the best they can, and by all accounts, he's a good dude. But at some point, we have to say he's not playing very well,
right?
And it has to go back to the coach. And listen,
Frank, let me interject. He would complete 4 or 5 balls every game last year that made you say, "Ooh."
Yeah.
I mean, he had one good throw the other night to Trey Wilson on that 25, 30-yarder. Other than that, man, it was, oh, gosh. Again, you said it earlier. Hat on hat, we should win this game easily.
Yeah.
They tell me our offensive line is one of the best in the SEC. No, it's not. It's just a shame. It's just a shame.
And again, in fairness to DJ, he's got a coach that has not and cannot develop him, and that's the real reality here. And now, in fairness to Scott Strickland, everyone wants to beat up Strickland. Well, in fairness, what's he supposed to do? Okay, you can't fire him today. Okay, you can't fire him today.
Although I would promise you, the majority of Gator fans would want him fired today.
I correct, but you don't do that. You can't fire him today. But you're in that spot where we now know. Okay, I want to say there's a side of me that would, if this was his first year, second year, I'd say okay. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year and then almost won the title. Nick Saban lost to La Tech his first year and then became great. But that was early in their careers as coaches. We're asking. This is 4 years in, 9 years in as a head coach, and we're asking. And we're saying, well, maybe they bounce back. They're not bouncing back, okay? I was so disappointed because I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought this year they had a good team. I really believed this year, and I think the personnel. I still don't think the personnel is bad. I don't. I think there's personnel there. I just think it's just poorly coached. You know, I wasn't at the game. You weren't at the game, were you? You weren't. You were here. Okay, I wasn't at the game.
No,
but I'm told, and listen, and this is full disclosure here. You know, we do Jaguar stuff. I call the Jaguar games. I don't get down there much. So there's things you can see at the game that you can't see on TV, right? Well, I had a few buddies in the press box that were covering the game that said in a critical moment of defense at one end of the field, Billy is at the other end of the bench looking at his play sheet. Okay, all right. Well, I promise you, Steve Spurrier called his own plays. But if there was a critical moment on defense, he was standing right there on the sideline in Ron Zook or Jim Bates or Bob Stoops' ear, right? And it's not like it's like Billy's not even coaching the team when the offense isn't out there. And he's again. So you got the wrong. So what do you do now? There's not an interim. You got the wrong guy. It's clear now. I told you this last week. I think they've got good players, but can they walk out with that swagger and that air of confidence? Well, now there's no way they can. Now you can say, well, now this will galvanize them, and it's up us against the world, and we're going to circle the wagons and whatever other freaking cliche you can come up with.
But we did all that last year, right? I mean, it's we're past that, so I don't know the point in keeping them, but I get not firing them right now. But again, Gator fans are now at the point they don't care who stays or who goes. Last year was like, oh, if we fire him, we lose Lagway. Oh, and listen, I get it at that point last year. This year, nobody cares. You got to make a change. It's gonna look. He might go. I think what he'll do. I think some reason in my mind, I think they'll play LSU tough. they'll lose by something like the Tennessee game last year, that kind of thing. Maybe.
Me too.
I don't know how good LSU is, so we'll find out. But Tennessee, Miami, Texas, it's going to be
Georgia, you know.
Georgia.
You heard about them, right? Georgia, they're good too. Look, and I hate to be Debbie Downer here, like it's what we're doing here. But last year's run was wonderful. Well, Dan, last year's run was a home game, followed by a home game, followed by a terrible FSU.
They were top 5 teams at the time. They were top 18, top 20 teams. It's a little different,
right? Right. So I mean, look, and again, they got a horrible break with this really hard schedule. I admit that. And
Frank,
again,
he took a playoff contender, a top 12, a team that many of us thought could be a top 12 team, and turned them into the worst team in Florida in 2 weeks.
I know, and a great point. And they looked. It wasn't just a score; it looked bad.
No.
If I never see, I don't. Is this on? Is my shot wide enough? Okay. If I never see this again the rest of my life, if you can just promise me nothing else, Dan, can you promise me I'll never see this again? Can you do that? Can I put you in charge? This. I mean, what are we doing? This, and then the tight ends go through. Here's what happens: they do this, and then the 2 tight ends, because you got to play 2 tight ends. God forbid you play 1. This, and then the 2 tight ends run to the other side.
And why do we again? I'm not an X's and O's guy, so I'm not an expert, but I like to listen to all these people. Why on earth at Florida, where you have allegedly all this speed at wide receiver, are you in 2 tight ends ever? And by the way, those 2 tight ends are okay. They're not great. They're clunky and slow. It makes no sense to me. And then you got Trey Wilson wham blocking some defensive lineman on a 3rd and 4. It's just one thing after another. He throws when he's supposed to run. He runs when he's supposed to throw. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. There's no defending it anymore. We tried. Look, you got 3+ years, bro. It's your guys. It's your team. And you went out there and not so good.
And at the end of the day, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
I don't want to impugn his character because too many people that know him well tell me he's a wonderful,
good dude.
And I don't want to. But the reason I preface it there is there's selfishness and arrogance and not handing over that offense. I'll say it again: selfishness and arrogance and not handing over that offense. And there's no other way to look at it. If he'd have brought in a really good offensive coach and just take it. And then let me, because he's obviously good at managing the program and recruiting and development. And I do think the culture is good. Look, they got that kid from Baylor at the end of the day. They needed a defensive tackle because they lost some guys. You're going to take a chance every now and then on the wrong guy. I don't know the kid, but he must be the wrong guy spitting someone's face. I don't think that's, in my opinion, that's not indicative of a bad culture at Florida. I don't believe that. I believe it's one guy, one idiot. Okay. And by the way, I'd run him off. I'd kick him off the team. So I think it's indicative of one. I don't think the culture is bad. I think they do play for each other in that locker room. I think he does. He's built a good camaraderie of people. He's engaged former Gators. I think he's done a lot of good stuff like that. If he would just let somebody else have the offense, I think he could be the coach for 20 years. I believe that. I believe he could be Dabo Swinney if he turned the offense over instead of arrogantly and selfishly continuing to call the offense, because that's
I think we're past that in the respect that the last thing I want is towards the end of this year, another disappointing season, is for him to make I'm going to get us an offensive coordinator. I think that's the next step for me. It's too late. I'd rather clean house and start over. I really would. I don't think he could ever do that. I don't think he is capable of winning an SEC championship or a natty. So if you want mediocrity, then you can keep them around, pay them all that money you want. I don't care. They're all going to get paid. But it is what it is. Let's wrap up LSU coming up, Frank. And
well, let me stop you for a second before we get to LSU real quick. So what now? Because we have to talk about the process and what we think happens. Okay. So I want to spend a little time on this, a few minutes on this. We'll get to LSU in a second. But I think everybody knows. I've got to believe Scott Strickland knows. I don't know this. I haven't talked to Scott around about now. But I've got to believe something's got to happen. So, and I think this, they voted on just one portal. Now, Dan, when you change coaches, and nowadays when you change coaches, it's got to be fast, because everybody's got a new coach has to go get a bunch of portal guys because he hasn't recruited the area. He doesn't know the high school coach. He doesn't know the kids. The high school coach is going to bail. They all bail. That's no one's fault when you change coaches, a high school kid. So you got to go get a bunch of portal guys, which means I think you got to act quicker, which is why I'm not kidding. I'm not the guy that does this, but I am thinking about who is it. Can you pull Lincoln Riley from USC? Is it Kiffin because everybody wants Kiffin? Is it is it Kenny Dillingham? I do think, I hate to say this 2 games in, and maybe they resurrect it, but I do think we're not far away. I'm serious about this from when you do it, because again, you got to hit that portals in 1 week. It's 10 days. There's not going to be a May portal now. There's just one. You got to have a team next year. You got to put a team on the field next year. So does Scott do it at mid-season? Is there an interim you'd give the job to? What would you do if you were him? Not today, but what would you do as we move? Because I think that's a big part of this conversation. What would we do?
Well, I think the one thing I do is I know I'm making a change. That's number one.
Right.
And so now I've got a list of guys I got to make me say no. I got to make them tell me no. That's Nick Saban. It's Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I got a list of guys who they have to tell me no. And then is there a Brian Kelly out there in the respect of, a coach who, he would never leave, but maybe he will. Maybe something's not going on good there. Maybe there's something that's been bugging him. Maybe he's looking for a change of scenery. Is there one of those guys out there? That's the next guys that I'm looking at. I just think we can't go hire a guy from we need a big dog. We need a big dog at Florida. It's just, again, and it's a cycle, man. You just look, we've been playing football over 100 years at UF. We've had 2 great coaches, and they've had great success. But you could also make the argument you got to have a great coach if you want to have great success in Florida. It's so competitive. I think Drinkwitz is a guy who would get talked to. He wins 10 at Missouri, so he's a little odd, but I think that's a guy that but he would be discussed. I like what you're saying in terms of doing it quickly. You have to do it quickly, so you have to do your work now if you're the AD.
That's the thing. I don't think you fire him today.
No,
you let him play LSU and Miami and Texas, but you have to be thinking you can't do it at the last week of November either,
right?
Okay? Because then you have no chance to have a team next year. You got to play next year.
Correct.
You have no chance to have a team next year if you do this at the end of November. You can't. At least if you do it in the middle of, if you're going to do it, and I can't imagine, maybe he'll surprise me and win all his next 5 games, but assuming they don't, and you're going to do this, if you're going, and by the way, if he beats LSU and Miami and Texas, then he stays. Okay, just so we're clear, we just know that's not happening. Okay,
correct.
You can't. You're not going to fire a 5-1 coach who by then will be 10th in the country after the. But assuming it's not going to happen by then, so you don't get there late, you have to get a start because, honest to God, let's say he gets fired in November and they hire a guy December 1st. Okay, I can tell you, you better be prepared to sign 20 guys in the portal, right? Just to have a team next year, because how many guys on your team are bailing? How many guys? How many of your commits are bailing? Right?
It's a whole start over process.
Yeah. So and the portal's critical. So we'll see what happens. As for LSU, I agree with you. They're mad now. They'll play tough. Billy is good at getting them to play harder when their backs against. He is good at that.
Yeah.
And they'll play hard. LSU will beat them. LSU will beat them 27-24. And we'll be frustrated next Monday. That's my prediction.
And then you got to remember, for LSU, there's a revenge factor here. They want to beat Florida. Florida beat them last year, so don't forget about that. And Brian Kelly will have them ready. It's a shame. I knew it couldn't happen. I knew it shouldn't happen, and then I watched it happen.
Yeah, and I will tell you this as we close. I'm shocked. I thought he had gotten beyond it.
Correct.
I thought the play calling would be better. I thought there'd be more of a rhythm.
Frank, even at the half, I thought we were wearing them down. We were moving the ball. We just kept making mistakes and kicking field goals. Don't let them hang around. Now you've let them hang around, but take that second half kickoff. Guys, we got to go down and score. If we do that, we're up 16-6. We're fine. They couldn't do it.
I'll say this. When the momentum flipped was when they punted back-to-back. It was once they took the lead. Well, once Vernell Brown made the return, they had the momentum.
Yeah.
They score a touchdown, they take the lead. They had momentum, and they got the ball back twice around midfield. Twice.
3 and outs.
To
3 and outs.
The first 3 and out, they lost the momentum. The second 3 and out, they lost the game. And
Yeah.
that's what got away from them.
100%. All right, brother.
I'm done venting. That's all things Gators, all things orange and blue. Dan Hickett and Frank Frangie.
Thank you, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com. Frank, here's to happier times.
See you.